Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stew with JT Brew. I'm your host, Justin Taylor. Alongside me today is my buddy John McGlynn. We're going to go over NFL betting week 3 action. Stick with us. You're in the Stew.
You up on trades and why you move. You ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points. Makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release. We started with the mock draft and now we making a mockery of the leaderboard. Quite obviously not a scrub. So start an institute. Make evaluations like a commissioner do. It's to the point your wife make you watch in a different room. Update your roster and pick and choose when you get some news. Not much that we enjoy more than sifting through through new statistics to make it to our end zones through different routes. Universities, institutes, down to homies who click in groups. I introduce you to the Stew with JT Brew.
John, thanks for joining me again today. We're trying to make this a little bit of a habit here for the NFL betting show. Off to a decent start betting, mostly on the props and some live bets. It's been a little crazy start to the season for you bettors out there. Did not expect some of these teams to be 2-0 and some of these other teams to be 0-2. Definitely have. If you've been taking the favorites, you've been getting worked for the most part this year, as a lot of dogs are covering. We've seen quite a few backdoor covers so far this season, but let's kind of get into the action. We're going to go a little game by game here and pick some stuff out that we like. First game of the night, Thursday nighter here, and usually I wait till the end of the night to give you my JT parlay play of the day, but hey, I'm going to give you the Thursday nighter, and we're going to do it here early on. So John, let's talk about this game before I give you my play of the day for this game. Right now it's -6 Jets over the Patriots. Over under is a low 38.5. The Jets coming into this game, nice little start, got the win. The Patriots, we expected them to kind of get off to a bad start. They won week 1 over the Bengals, was a huge upset for most people I know, crushed my parlay, and then they lost in overtime at home to Seattle last week, doing a nice job of covering that spread. And then the Jets on the other side of things, they're 1-1. We kind of felt, this team could go a lot of different ways. They ended up getting beat week 1 by the 49ers, as the Niners won that and covered that spread. They did not cover the spread against the Niners. The Niners covered, and then they won 24-17 in a hard-fought game at Tennessee last week. Do you got any leanings on this one, or anybody you're feeling good about, as we've seen the Patriots compete a lot more than people originally thought to start the year?
This is a game where I think the Patriots, they might not score this game. This is one of those things where they've been pretty lucky with the defense and the running game, but the Jets are just a superior defensive team, and Aaron Rodgers, although he's looked pretty good, they just kind of haven't gone on all cylinders right now. And the Patriots are not shabby on defense themselves. They got a good defensive history, good defensive coaching staff, good defensive players. I think Aaron Rodgers isn't going to sail to a victory tonight, but I think I like the Jets in this game. I think they're at this point in time, the clock struck midnight on the Patriots, kind of hanging in there with players, like barely winning games or even staying close to the end of the game. I think I like the Jets. I think they're going to win by quite a bit tonight.
I think I like the Jets too. I think the Pats can keep this one close for most of the game. I think the Jets cover this one. I think they can win it by a touchdown. I do like where your head's at on the 38.5, the under. I'm just not. If you do not believe in the Pats offense, you could jump on the under team total on them. That might be a solid bet to make in this one. I'm taking the Jets, but I also know how these games can get. I know it can get to where you get that backdoor cover, or I could see somehow the Jets, dominating most of the game, but end up getting a 3-point win. If I have to take the points, I'm taking the -6. But I'm going to pull out my here. I'm going to show you my JT parlay play of the day. So this one's our Thursday nighter for you guys. I'll throw this one up on the X page as well at JT Orange. You can always check it out there. I throw those up when I can. As a reminder, these are always long shot bets I put in, usually pretty high odds. So this one is a +625 on DraftKings. Currently, I've got Breece Hall +25 receiving yards, Garrett Wilson +50 receiving yards, Hunter Henry +25 receiving yards, and then I got a Garrett Wilson anytime TD and I tease the Jets down to -2 so I can get a field goal will get me the victory. That is plus 625 there. If you're watching here on YouTube, it's going across the bottom of the screen right now, so you can mark that one down. That is my bet. If you really want to kick that one up a notch, you can take Jelani Tavai, the linebacker for the Patriots. You can take him over 7.5 total tackles and assists. I think he gets a bunch in this game as Juwan Bentley is out for the Patriots. I can see the Jets trying to run the ball quite a bit, and I can see him getting some tackles. If you want to throw that in there to this, you can get that up to a plus 1,100. So if you really want to get a little crazy, that is something you can kind of mix in there. So for everybody listening again, Breece Hall plus 25 receiving yards, Garrett Wilson plus 50 receiving yards, Hunter Henry plus 25 receiving yards for the Pats, and then Garrett Wilson anytime TD, and the Jets -2 plus 625 at DraftKings. Currently at Jelani Tavai, -7.5 over under. So we've got to get to 8 tackles total. That will kick it up to 1,100. What do you think about that one, John? Got a little crazy there on that one. I was looking for a few different things to go.
That was pretty good. My favorite one I think you got is Garrett Wilson plus 50 yards. I think that's pretty low. I mean, everywhere I saw him, he's got like the over-under on underdog is 65.5. So across the board, I think that one is my favorite one you had that you have plugged in right now. So these are good bets, JT. I'm a big fan of. I think me and you have pretty much the same vision on a lot of these players. So I'm almost lock and step with some of the things you have going on here.
The next game we've got is a noon game on Sunday, the Colts-Bears game. Going to the game, excited to watch it. I had one of my buddies said, "Hey, are you excited to watch Caleb Williams' first career touchdown pass with me?" So he feels like Caleb Williams breaks out. This is one I'm going to look at possibly throwing something on as well, especially some player props. The Colts have been absolutely awful against the run. Two games they've given up over 237 yards per game. Both running backs in the first 2 meetings had 30 carries plus. So this is a team that's been giving up a lot on the ground, and then now you add in the injury to DeForest Buckner, really the rock in the middle there for the Colts. That makes it even uglier. I know what you're going to say. DeAndre
what
Sweat,
am I going to say?
Do you really believe in him? Do you believe in Sweat going into this week? 14 carries, 18 yards last week. It would say not a lot of confidence, but man, I'm playing the odds with how bad the Colts have been on defense. He's a guy I'm definitely keeping my eye out. As right now, TD scores in this game. He is plus 110 for an anytime rushing touchdown. That's number 2 on the list of -130 for Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, question is, are they going to play in the whole game? He's looked good the first 2 weeks. Didn't get any goal line touches last week, which hurt, but I could see him bouncing back right now. DeAndre Swift, you can get him at plus 50 50 plus rushing yards at -160 on DraftKings currently. I think I'm going to jump in on him. You can get it if you put a same game parlay in, which I will toss one in here on this. You can get him at 80 plus rushing yards at plus 300. If you think he gets over 100, which if you're going to do it against a team, this would be the team to do it. You can get him at plus 750, and you get him at plus 1,200 at 110 plus rushing yards for DeAndre Swift. So I'm going to throw some DeAndre Swift money out there. I know it's not been pretty so far with him. I know the Bears O-line has been bad, especially protecting Caleb Williams, already 9 sacks in 2 games against him. I think they pick it up a little bit. I think they run the ball, try to help Williams, try to keep the pass rush of the Colts off him. I think that ends up being DeAndre Swift. You know what that means? Swift's going to get hurt, and someone else is going to come in and have a monster game. It's going to be Roschon. It's going to be Herbert. Somebody's going to get in there and have a huge game against the Colts. We'll end up seeing who it is, but everybody's been running against the Colts. So that's for my money right now. That's where I would want to go. I would definitely want to see try to take advantage of the fact that the Colts have been terrible getting around. Maybe they get right this week, but I don't think so. Just not the way that things have gone, especially with no DeForest Buckner. So I want to jump on those running props in this one. Do the Colts get the win? That's the question. I mean, this game right now, it's at 1.5. Colts are the favorite. Bears are at plus 1.5. Over under is 43.5. If I get in that same game parlay, I like what the Bears have done on defense, but I don't like the Colts have done on defense. As I just said, I think I could see myself teasing this line down a little bit and then trying to get it like maybe to like 41-ish, 42, because I can definitely see this game being a 24-20 game, 24-17 game, right in that mix. So if I can get low 20s, it's set at 43.5 now. If I could get it to the low 40s, I think I like that over in this game. I do feel like this game could go either way. And whenever one team clearly has a better defense than the other team, that makes me want to kind of lean them. But I think this Colts team at home, I think they've got some firepower. I think they're going to be able to put a little pressure on the Bears.
They're going to have to, Caleb Williams is going to have to get rid of the ball a little bit faster than he did last week. That's one thing. So I like like a lot of the underdog has a 73.5 rushing and receiving for DeAndre Swift. A lot of dump off passes, I think, in this week. And not that Swift is the receiving back on this team right now. Nobody else is going to take that job from him. That they paid him a lot of money to be here to do the things that he can do. I feel like he's going to they're going to have to do some more, I guess, screen passes or wheel routes or something like that to get him out of the backfield to get to the ball in his hands so Caleb doesn't sit back there and just get absolutely destroyed. So I like some of the receiving props for DeAndre Swift. As far as the other ones, Jonathan Taylor, the Bears have a pretty damn good defense. So I'm a fan of Jonathan Taylor. I just feel like they're not using him the way they should because the offense it's almost like they don't need. I don't want to say they don't need him, but they almost don't need him. Like you have a good quarterback that runs the ball, it's thrown pretty well. You can get rid of the ball down deep. He runs by himself too. So I just feel more comfortable with like something that something's got to change in one of these offenses. It takes a week or two to figure out the offense. Defense shows up, they swarm to the ball, they make tackles, they make plays. You can adjust the defense a little bit faster than you can the offense. The Bears need to adjust something. It's just not going to happen if they don't work out. If they don't make some changes. So that's why I'm thinking that Swift can be a bigger part of this offense, just because they have to get the offense that get the ball out of Caleb's hands faster.
Yeah, I agree. If you like Caleb Williams, like a few of my buddies, to get a touchdown, it's same game parlay for 1+ touchdown is -320. But if you want to take him to throw 2, it jumps all the way up to +170. So that's a pretty interesting one there. Another guy we're kind of looking at receiving yards. Been tough to kind of figure out both of these teams so far. Haven't done a great job of passing the ball. Michael Pittman struggled a little bit, and you can see that by his number. Use plus 50 receiving yards is only -120 for him, as he's kind of struggled. You can still get Alec Pierce at -145 for 25+ receiving yards. He's been over that every game for him. Usually that's one catch, as he can get deep. You can get 40+ on him at +180, and 50+ receiving yards is +310. So you could throw a crazy same game parlay together where you just take Alec Pierce over 50 receiving yards and you take DeAndre Swift over 100 rushing yards. And that one kicks up real quick. So it is taking the plus side on those, pushing those lines up from what the actual number is. But it's something that I think could be kind of juicy. Also, Jonathan Taylor is 25+ on the receiving yards, is +255. For him, he doesn't use a catch a lot, but man, if he gets 1 or 2, he can tend to pop out there. If he gets 1 or 2, he can take it for a pretty big gain. So that one's a little one on the edge there. But if you like to take your chances there, you can get him at +25, especially with them sitting him all fourth quarter and not being in the passing game. I could see him getting a little more look in the passing game this season.
Yeah, you recall this Anthony Richardson, Alex Pierce connection pretty much since the middle of last year. Like when it's going to happen, it's going to happen. He's seeing Alex Pierce right now. It's one of the better bets. I think one of your better bets on this slate.
Yeah, I think you can still get good money on Alec Pierce because, again, it's only 2 games in. People aren't totally sold on it. They're not sure that, even though he is the Colts leading receiver, that it's going to stay that way, as he's been kind of a big play guy. So if you believe in Alec Pierce like I believe in Alec Pierce, then you can still get some pretty nice money on Alec Pierce. So I'm probably on this one just for the straight up game. Like I said, if I can move the line a little bit, I do like the over in this game. I'm probably taking the Colts just at home. I think they're going to be better. I do think this game's going to be a dogfight, though. I am probably just taking the money line at minus 125 for the Colts. I do think this is going to be a close game. This has got all the makings. You got AR versus Caleb Williams. Both of them have a little bit of a breakout game. I could see this being a 3-point game.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next one on the docket is the Bucs versus the Broncos. Bucs 2-0, baby, off to a nice start. Big win last week at Detroit. The Broncos, even though the final score looked close at 13-6 against the Steelers, they got dominated for most of that game. Bo Nix has not looked great. This one, everything in me says I know it's 6.5 points, but take the Bucs on a touchdown. I think the Bucs shut them down running. Then Bo Nix has to throw. The passing game has not looked good. The Bucs defense has been solid, and Baker Mayfield has looked good coming back out. He's continuing that nice season he had last year. He's been all over Chris Godwin, who's leading the way in the NFL right now in receiving. So you can get some nice little odds on him. I'm taking, even though it's 6.5, I'm going to take it before he gets to 7. I think the Bucs win this by a touchdown.
Chris Godwin and Mike Evans both have 66.5 receiving yards on underdog. That's considering Godwin's being like the guy the first 2 weeks. Is that are you favoring?
I like
Chris
that
Godwin?
number. He's been over that number both weeks pretty easily.
Right.
He's been over 80 and over 100 in 2 out of 3 games. The question for him is who's going to get the Patrick Surtain treatment? Are they going to put Surtain on Godwin? Is he going to be on Evans? Is he going to switch back and forth? So obviously that would make a difference. I think it'd be harder with Godwin being the slot guy to kind of lock up on him there. So I think maybe that's, I need to look into that a little bit more and see if they have any idea what the game plan for the Broncos is there in the secondary. But whoever Surtain's not on, I like that guy. So give that guy the ball.
There you go.
Next on the list, Steelers at home. Another surprising 2-0 matchup here. Steelers 2-0, Chargers 2-0. Jim Harbaugh's team doing what you thought they would do, pound the rock. You just weren't sure before the season who was going to be. Well, we've got a J.K. Dobbins resurgent, over 100 yards the first 2 weeks. Him and Gus Edwards combining for 35 carries last week as the Chargers are really wanting to run the football. The Steelers, I think, have been slightly underrated in the fact that the offense hasn't looked that good. If you just look at the stats, they've had quite a few deep pass interference calls and a couple penalties. They've got 40 and 50-yard passes called back. I think they're playing better than the stats have shown. I think Justin Fields is starting to come to his own. It looks like at this point with a 2-0 start that he's going to be the guy again, unless we hear something crazy about Russell Wilson coming back. I think the Steelers let him go at the 2-0 and see if he can get to 3-0. Pretty low over-under on this game at 36, which is not surprising to me at all, as these two teams run the ball the most in the NFL. So they both love to run. I think that's going to happen in this game. Both defenses have been very, very solid this year. So an under 36, though, I love to see the points for fantasy. I think that's a real, a very realistic under there on the 36. The 17-13, somewhere in that range. Chris Boswell's been the man right now for the Colts, or Susie, for the Steelers, kicking field goals. I think it's a low-scoring game. If I put it in a parlay and I tease it up a bit, I would feel even better about it. Right now, surprisingly, and this is a little shocking to me, even though the Steelers are 1.5 point favorites, right now the money from the public is on the Chargers. Chargers have 59% of the bet right now. So that's move that line a little bit. I like the Steelers at home in this game. I've said it quite a few times so far to start this year. I think they have a top 5 defense. I really think they're a good defense. They're gonna try to pound the rock with J.K. Dobbins. I think the Steelers are really going to get challenged to stop the run. If they do, I think that is what's going to end up leading them to victory this week. So I like the Steelers in this one. I'll lay the 1.5, though. I do think it is going to be quite a close game. If you like the player props in this one, Justin Fields right now, you can get him at minus 140 at 150 plus passing yards. And again, he's had low totals so far this year. I think it's 156 and 117, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. But he's had quite a few big plays that George Pickens called back on penalties and interference calls. I think they hook up this week and get at least one big one, maybe two. I like the over on the passing yards for Fields. 150 does not scare me away, even though looking at the numbers, he's barely hit that number. I do like where he's at there. Herbert on the other side, you can get him at minus 125 for 175 plus passing yards. He has not thrown the ball a bunch either. I do think he is going to have to pass the ball a little bit in this game, as I don't think they're going to just be able to run the ball as crazily and as easily against the Steelers as they have in the first 2 weeks of the year.
People don't trust the Justin Fields-led Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's okay with, that's all right. I mean, it's understandable. Justin Fields, you can tell he's a little bit shaky out there. He doesn't look absolutely fantastic. He has flashes. It's not that I don't trust the guy. Like you said, he's getting some bad calls, putting the ball in the right place sometimes. When he throws the ball and he's got time in the pocket and he finds guys open, he is a beautiful. It's like a poetry in motion watching him throw the ball, man. He throws a pretty ball, a nice spiral, like a Michael Vick kind of like laser beam kind of thing. But my favorite, J.K. Dobbins, 54.5 on underdog, 54.5 rushing yards. I mean, what's going to happen. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the shit out of the ball against the Steelers because it's going to be a ground and pound versus ground and pound kind of game. What do you think about 54.5 rushing yards for you?
Yeah, I mean, he's crushed that the first 2 weeks. So right. I'm actually a little surprised it's that low. I think it's only that low because people are respecting what the Steelers have done defensively and what they've done shutting down the ball. But yeah, on DraftKings right now, you can actually get it at 52.5 at minus 120. So, and then they've got Najee Harris right there at 52.5 as well. I think both those guys are going to get carries. Right. The question is what offense can move the ball and keep a consistent drive going. I could see a lot of field goals on this one to keep going. Like I said, I think they're going to run the ball over 52.5 for each of those guys. I think is a solid bet. Jalen Warren's 28.5 and Gus Edwards, who, like we said, not a lot of yards, but a ton of carries last week. 32.5 for him on rushing yards. So, that's one. Those are ones to definitely keep an eye on.
You gotta be in field goal range to kick field goals, JT. You gotta get there somehow.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think this one's gonna be close. I think both these teams are gonna play pretty conservatively and try to lean on their defenses. Mm-hmm. So I can see a lot of teams, 3rd and 4, instead of pulling out and throwing the ball, they're running the ball. And if they don't get that first down and it's 4th and 1, they're kicking. Mm-hmm. I think I could see a lot in that game. So I do like that one. The George Pickens over under receiving yards. Again, the numbers aren't pretty because of some of the penalties and things. You can get him at minus 170 for 40 plus receiving yards. That's one catch. That's one long catch from George Pickens. He can do that. 50 plus receiving yards is plus money, plus 105. So I'm in on that. Pat Freiermuth is minus 120 for 25 plus receiving yards. He's got 4 catches in the first 2 games. Each game, he's got 4 catches. I like him over 25 receiving yards there. So that's a little parlay that I'm going to look at maybe putting together. Right? That wouldn't be a little bad one. Let me little pop up and see what our odds would be on this one, John, if we kind of threw this together. If you went over J.K. Dobbins rushing yards, over Najee rushing yards, Pickens 40 plus, and Freiermuth over 25 plus. What can we get there? Let's see what that would look like. Give me a second. I actually took one of the bets off that I did not mean to. If you put that together right now, John, that's plus 900.
Damn.
On DraftKings. Plus 900. And that's just a 4-picker. 4-pick parlay. Right. Each guy over 52.5 rushing yards. George Pickens 40 plus receiving yards, and Pat Freiermuth 25 plus.
I'll take
That one might end up being my JT parlay play of the day for Sunday.
Ding.
I'm liking that one at plus 900. Really like those odds. So that's one you guys, I think you ought to be thinking about. And like I said, you could throw in the Justin, if he gets over a deep one to Pickens and then gets over 25 to Muth, I think he can get over 150 passing. You could throw that and you get that sucker up in the 1,000 plus 1,200 range. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I like that, John.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's nice putting that together when you talk about it all you want to. When you put it in a parlay and look at all four bets together, that's one of the more solid ones I've seen this week. So.
Yeah, but I like that one. The next game on the slate, Cleveland Browns minus 6.5 against the Giants, over under in that one. Another game in the 30s, as we've seen the defenses kind of really dominate to start the year, and you're starting to see that at the books. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's rare that you see this many games in the 30s for a total without bad weather in the winter. But it's the offenses have been struggling a little bit this year. To me, I think this is a defensive game. I don't trust the Browns offense. I like their defense a ton. I really don't like the Giants outside of Malik Neighbors and a little bit of Singletary. I usually hate to go in games in the 30s, but I could see myself getting on this one. And if you want to do a little two-teamer parlay, same gamer here, I think you could take the Browns to cover the 7 here and get the under. I like that. What do you think, John?
Daniel Jones, 187 passing yards. I'm not sure what you got. Underdog has 187.5 passing yards for Daniel Jones against this Browns defense. I'm not really sure because that only allows him. They're only giving him it's 220 for passing and rushing yards combined. So that means they're giving him 35 rushing yards, and that's it on this game. So I don't really see Daniel Jones throwing 187 yards in this game. Yeah, Cleveland's got a pretty damn good defense.
Yeah, he's got 178 in week 1 against Washington and 186 last week against Minnesota. So it's a number he has yet to hit this year. I do not like this. Yeah. I do not like this offense this Jets offense, especially against this Browns defense. I can see. I usually am not an under better. Nobody likes to bet the unders because they're just not as fun. But I could see taking a lot of unders in this game.
Yes.
I think the Browns shut the Giants down. I don't like anything the Giants have done this year outside of, like I said, Malik Neighbors has been really nice, but he's going to see a lot of attention from this Browns defense in the secondary. This one, to me, I don't like a lot of the offensive players. Like I said, if anything, this is an under bet for me. I might jump on a bunch of unders in this one. I mean, you got Deshaun Watson, 199.5 is the over-under passing yards. Daniel Jones, like you said, 186.5. I think both of them go under there. I'm gonna get them putting one together. That is a crazy against all things I ever talk about, and I'm gonna do an all under JT parlay play of the day. It's coming, folks. I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna get one together. I think the under passing yards for both those guys. I like the under total in the game. I like the Browns to actually cover. On top of that, I just think this sucker is a low scoring.
Jerome Ford, 51.5 yards on underdog. What do you think about that? Because
that's a toughie because he seems like the guy, but then last week they really liked Deontay Foreman at the end of the game, and Foreman got a ton of carries. So I normally, if I wouldn't have seen that last week, I would have been on Ford here. But now I'm nervous. I'm nervous about the amount of touches. I think he should have a big game, but if he splits carries 50-50, that makes me nervous. He splits those carries 50-50 with Foreman this week.
Right. Exactly what I'm thinking. That's what I was that's my biggest, there's a lot of, this is just not an exciting game. You want to take the overs all the time because you want to see a good game, but I think this is just going to be a kind of a defensive slugfest. So it's kind of to me, it's like a bet the under or avoid kind of thing. I don't want to be too optimistic about anybody here.
I agree. I'm either taking unders or not betting at all. I have zero confidence in taking overs in this game. I really don't. We go from one ugly game to another ugly game, another game in the 30s, if you can believe it or not. Green Bay versus Tennessee Titans. The Packers are plus 2.5 on the road against the Titans. There is questions right now. I just saw a report that there's a chance Jordan Love plays in this game. I'm really surprised.
No.
I'd be shocked. I would go with Malik Willis with the way he's played. He played pretty well last week against the Colts. They didn't need him to do a lot. This game, again, should be a ground and pound game, I would think, for the most part. Yeah, this one's ugly. I don't like this one at all. I can't take the Titans, even though it's against Malik Willis going against his old team. To me, if I had to take this game, I'm taking the Packers. And I'm either going to wait and take it at +3 when it gets to +3, or I'm going to money line the Packers. Right now, money line is +114. The 2.5 is -108. Again, I said the under's 38. This game, again, has an under written on it for me. I think the Packers have a really good defense. I think the Titans' defense is better than people give them credit for. I think we see another ugly one here, John.
When they don't give a lot of, although an underdog doesn't give a lot of like numbers, stats, you know it's going to be an ugly game. It's all touchdowns or non-touchdowns.
Yeah, it's like touchdowns or nothing. Is this
right?
What you want?
Josh Jacobs, 77.5 yards rushing. He gets the ball a ton, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's one thing that I'm not sure he'll get the rushing 77.5. That's a little bit more than I think he'll get, but I know he'll get the ball a lot. Rushing, receiving touchdowns, 0.5 for Josh Jacobs. I think that's my bet in this one, that he'll have over a touchdown, over a half touchdown. So one touchdown, either rushing or receiving the ball for Josh Jacobs. That's kind of what I'm eyeballing that bet here.
Yeah, I think and if you're on DraftKings right now, it's -130 for an anytime touchdown on DraftKings for Josh Jacobs. Pollard is the next best, next shortest odds at +115. Jaden Reed's questionable. I not like what I've seen out of Will Levis in the Tennessee offense so far. Again, this is just another game where I don't have a lot of confidence in these offenses and what's going on. Even if Jordan Love comes back, you got to think they protect him and they don't get too crazy. I'd be on the Packers this week in this one, but in all honesty, with how ugly it's been lately, I could see the Titans winning this game. So I don't have a huge confidence level on this one. No. I'm going to think it over, but I'm not sure I'm going to put money on this game.
Yeah, it's another one I just want to avoid. This is going to be one of those when I watch the replay, it's going to be about a 15-minute game to be run, and the clock is going to tick the whole time.
Boop, 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 boop. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. You're pop on that NFL replay, and you're like, oh, usually these games are like 30 minutes. And you're like, yeah, that was 15 minutes because they're just like punt. The next game, this one should be more exciting. Now we're getting a little action here, John. We got the Houston Texans at the Vikings. The Vikings and Sam Darnold 2-0 against the 2-0 Texans. +2 right now for the Vikings at home. -2, obviously, for the Texans. Over-under is 46 on this one. You got to lean. I know we're both Sam Darnold guys. Really tough defense with Texans, but he looked pretty solid last week against the Niners. Justin Jefferson right now, little questionable with a little hammy. I think it was a hamstring or a quad injury. Haven't heard an update of whether they're saying he's more likely to go or not, but I also haven't heard anything that says he's like not likely to play. I think if it comes out that Jefferson's not playing, I think this line gets crazy going the other way, or I think it would get wild. For me, even though the Vikings have looked really good, I think the defense of the Texans is really tough. I know the Niners had a good defense too, but I think I'm taking the Texans. I think the dream season of the 3-0 start for the Vikings, I think that one drops. I'm taking Texans -2 in this one. I do think it's going to be a good contest, though.
Sam Darnold's his passing yard on underdog is 230.5 passing yards here. So the thing I'm kind of banking on is the Aaron Jones receiving. That's the intangible here. How many dump off passes Aaron Jones are going to happen this game? Because that is a game changer. He could take over a game by himself, especially against a good Houston defense. I think you're going to see a lot of like finding people open. Sam Darnold's pretty good at finding people open and getting people the ball. He doesn't take a ton of risks. That's one good thing I like about Sam Darnold. He doesn't like just YOLO the ball. Yeah, so dump offs to Aaron Jones are kind of. I almost wanted to, just because how much I like Sam Darnold, I almost want to take the over here because I think that Jones could probably get somewhere in the 40, 50, maybe even like 60 yards receiving by himself. So I'll take the Sam Darnold in the over on passing yards here.
Yeah, and if you like Aaron Jones, right now, if you put him in a same game parlay, you can get him on DraftKings plus 150 for 25 plus receiving yards. If you got him 40 plus receiving yards, you can get him plus 400. So
Wow.
that's one to think about if you're really liking the Aaron Jones yards. Usually I would be all over Justin Jefferson here. I'm a little nervous with the hammy that, whenever you have a quad or a hammy and those guys run so fast, it's so easy to pull those things again
Yeah.
mid game. So I'm nervous on the over under receiving yards for him. You're going to find it usually somewhere in the low 70s right now, which usually is not a terrible number for him. Usually that's when you kind of think he goes over. But I think I'm probably avoiding it this week just because little nervous about the health of Jones and again, or sorry, the health of Jefferson. And again, if it ends up being that Justin Jefferson, is going to be limited or out in this game, I think this number goes way up. I think the
Yeah.
Texans will get closer to a -6 or a -7 when it's said and done. So if you're liking the Texans now, I think now's the time to jump in on them, get on them early before everybody else we hear anything about Jefferson or anybody else wants to pound that line. Then the next game, another surprising 2-0 team, the New Orleans Saints at home against the Eagles. If you would have guessed this line before the season, I didn't get a chance to look it up, but if you would have guessed this line before the season, I'm telling you right now, it would have been the Saints easily as a 4 or 5 or 6 point home dog. No, right now, these guys are favored after the loss and the collapse last second for the Eagles last week against the Falcons. They come back 2.5 point favorite right now for the Saints at -118. John, do you believe in Derek Carr and the Saints? Do they get it done again at home as they just put it to the Cowboys last week and to the Carolina Panthers in week 1? They've been one of the most efficient offenses in the entire NFL so far to start this year.
Man, this is tough. I like the Eagles in this game. I think I like Derek Carr has been so impressive. Watching that guy throw the ball, finding guys open, hitting Rashid Shaheed on the first play of the first drive for 80-yard touchdowns a couple weeks in a row almost is what it seems like. But getting an early start against the Eagles is not as easy as it has been. I mean, I don't know how they beat the Cowboys, but the Eagles are just as good, if not better, than the Cowboys in my mind. So I think that the Cowboys got off track. This is something that the Eagles, I could see. I could see Saquon Barkley taking over this game here without a problem whatsoever. Rushing, receiving, 101 total. That's on an underdog. No, I like the over in that. This is a game I like the overs in a lot of these. As much as we took the unders in some of the other uglier games, I like a lot of overs in this game because I think this is a game that's going to produce a lot of points. Something we got to look out for now. This might be one of those Chris Olave get right games, 61 yards on underdog. I think this might be the game where you can't just have these fluke plays. Philly's going to be prepared for that. The Shaheed downfield kind of long touchdown thing. They're going to have to bank on Olave getting the ball here. So I like Chris Olave on whatever it is, 55, 60, whatever it is on 61.5 on underdog. So 61.5 here. I'll take the over on Olave. I think he's going to have a big game this week.
Yeah, I like that bet on Olave. The pass coverage has not been good again by the Eagles, even though they've added all this talent. You look at the roster, you're like, man, they should shut everybody down. They haven't. If you think that Alvin Kamara and Saquon Barkley continue to pound the rock and score, they both are two of the top touchdown guys in the NFL right now. You can get Alvin Kamara anytime touchdowns -210, Saquon's -160. But if you want to go 2+ touchdowns, which these guys have already done this year, Kamara's +270, Saquon's +340. You can actually put those guys together in a little 2-teamer and really kick up the odds. So if you think those guys stay on the hot streaks that they're on, you can really pound some nice positive plus money action on that. John, man, this one's a toughie for me. I'm probably not betting this game, in all honesty. But if I did, I kind of think I would take the Eagles. I don't know why. I kind of think I'd take the Eagles, especially as a dog. Right now, the money's 61% on the Saints. I'm kind of shocked by that. If I could get the Eagles, if that money keeps piling on the Saints and I can get the Eagles at +3, I kind of like the Eagles at +3 in this one.
This is one of those, what have you done for me lately kind of things. And the Eagles look like shit. The Saints look great. It's one of those things where don't fall for the smoke and mirrors kind of thing.
Yeah, the buy-in public is all over that great performance where the Eagles just dropped one. So I like the Eagles +3 if I can get it at +3. So I'll keep my eyes on that. The next game, 1-1 Vegas, big win last week at Baltimore. They're at home against Carolina. Carolina's already made the call. They're pulling Bryce Young. They're starting Andy Dalton. I don't know if that makes a difference at all. This game is actually surprisingly in the 40s. I thought this one would definitely be in the 30s. It's at over under 40 right now. The Raiders are a 5-point favorite at home against Carolina. And right now, the money is 92% on the Raiders. I don't know anyone putting money on Carolina unless you just like pain. I don't know how you can take Carolina any way, shape, or form right now. And even with the change at quarterback, you can't tell me that Andy Dalton somehow is an upgrade at this point in his career. The Red Rifle, he was good when he was younger, had some really nice years for the Bengals, but at this point, he's a journeyman and he's not bringing it for you. I feel like 5 points is too much for the Raiders. They shouldn't be a 5-point favorite, but also the Panthers have been so bad that it's like, how can you? Part of me is shocked that it's not 7. I mean, that's how bad the Panthers have been.
How are they going to score? Because I see Deontay Johnson only's got 45 receiving yards here. If this has to go through Deontay Johnson, I can't see any other way that Carolina scores. Who else on Carolina is a producer on this offense that you could trust? I just don't know how. If you think that Carolina's going to cover the spread or possibly even win this game, you have to take the over on Deontay Johnson's receiving yards. That's in my mind, you have to.
I just think it's ugly. You got Raiders got 26-23 win against the Ravens. I mean, they held the Ravens to 23 points. Panthers aren't getting 20 points in this game. I just don't think it, even though I don't think the Raiders defense is off the charts. I think they've been solid. I think they've been really solid. I'm probably laying the points and taking the Raiders, though I could see them winning this game by 3. just cause, just ugly for no reason. But I cannot in good conscience put any money on the Panthers right now. I can't do it. It's an absolute dumpster fire.
The Brock Bowers 45 or it's 46.5 receiving yards here. He's been getting peppered with 10 targets a game almost, man. I'll take the over on that.
Yeah, I love Brock Bowers as an anytime touchdown score is +210. I always like to jump in and throw in a little, 4 or 5 player TD parlay. My buddy had one for +20,000 last week and got real close. We were getting excited there for a minute. It looked like it was going to hit. You get Brock Bowers' first touchdown is +950. So again, like you said, who's going to score? Who's going to score for Carolina? You got Brock Bowers +950. You got Devontae Adams +600. I like both of those. I think I'm going to jump on a Brock Bowers first TD score of the game at +950.
He's been the early and often guy for sure.
Yeah, he's going to get one, and I like him. I like him at the anytime touchdown at +210 as well. But I like the crazy stakes of him getting first touchdown at +950. Next one on the docket here, John, as we move through the list here, as we try to get everything in. We got Seahawks, Dolphins, obviously Tua out on IR. This one has got me nervous. I don't want to take anything Dolphins. Again, these numbers, until I see Skylar Thompson, see how he's improved or what he's done. I'm nervous about Waddle numbers. I'm worried about the Tyreek numbers. I have to stay away from the Dolphins in this game as far as player props. Seahawks on the other side. Big game for Metcalf last week. Big game for JSN. He started seeing a lot of targets. So I can see those guys over passing yards. I kind of like that. I mean, 237 is the Geno over under passing yards right now. Skylar Thompson's 194. Geno had over 300 last week. Looking at the receiving yards right now, Tyreek, he's depending on where you're getting him, he's in the mid to high 60s. Again, he can bust one and go the distance, but man, I'm nervous about what their passing game is going to look like. DK right now, you can get him 60 plus at minus 135 if you throw him in a same game parlay. And then JSN, his numbers are going up, plus 50 plus for him is minus 120. So I don't hate that. If you want to put that a little bit of that together to maybe take him and DK and Gino and kind of put those guys and take them all over on the passing yards, passing and receiving yards. I kind of like that.
Devon A-Chain, 69.5 yards. He's going to have to be the Devon A-Chain show here. Devon A-Chain show here. Tyreek Hill is 67.5 yards. Now, any play, Tyreek Hill can just take the ball to the house. We all know that. So just Skylar Thompson just needs to get the ball to Tyreek Hill. He can make things happen. So 67.5 still seems like a lot of yards for Tyreek Hill in a game like this.
It's not unreasonable, but I'm nervous at Seattle. The crowd's going to be rocking. That one's got me nervous. I will be honest with you. It's not that Tyreek can't do it. Obviously he's the man, but I got to see something out of Skylar Thompson before I start believing in taking Dolphins players. Again, outside of A-Chain. A-Chain's been awesome. They're going to need A-Chain to run the ball if they're going to be in the mix. They've got to.
Absolutely.
We got a couple comments here. Bring them up for everybody. What do you think about the Bengals offense moving forward? Thanks, 2K players, Z12, players 17. Gosh, I can't read that at all. Thanks for bringing that one up. Bengals offense moving forward. They're another one for me that they looked pretty good last week against the Chiefs because I think they just always play the Chiefs well. Against the Commanders at home Monday night game, they're a 7-point favorite right now. The Commanders have looked better. I don't like the Bengals offense overall going forward. Obviously, Joe Burrow is a stud. He can be great. I'm nervous about the run game. Zach Moss has not been good. I thought there'd be a lot more Chase Brown at this point in the season. They really have just used him sparingly. And then just the passing game. No T. Higgins so far. Chase was held in check last week. Can he bust out this week after that? We haven't seen anyone else really for the Bengals get it together. Mike Gesicki was the big dog last week for the Bengals. And how often are you going to be able to count on Gesicki having big games? That would make me nervous. I have to tell you, until I see a little more consistency out of the Bengals, I'm probably holding off on a lot of Bengals player props.
Mike Gesicki's had a couple of big plays called back, including a touchdown, which it's like bobble in the end zone when he fell. It's one of those things where I think the Bengals offense is right there. They just keep getting stupid penalties and drops and overturned calls, things like that. They're not that far off of hitting the losing Joe Mixon in this offense. I think was what kind of cut the heart out of the momentum and how the offense used to flow. They don't have even though everybody said, "Oh, Joe Mixon's overrated. He can't run the ball anymore. He's old. He's injured all the time." Now you see how good Joe Mixon was. How much they miss him on this offense. So until they figure out how to make this engine run by replacing Joe Mixon or figuring something out to get the offense flowing through a different channel, they're going to struggle.
Yeah, we got actually a couple fantasy questions, and we do fantasy too here on the Stu with JT Brew, so no problem. We'll answer that. The question is on fantasy: would you sell Zach Moss or buy low on him? I was not a Zach Moss guy entering the year. I don't think it gets better, John. Do you? If I can sell Zach Moss, I'm selling him. I don't know. The market for him is going to be interesting. With all the injuries, maybe you can sell him to somebody who's desperate for him, and maybe you could get yourself a second if you're lucky, or you can maybe put him in a package deal. Whoa, John, are you selling Moss if you can?
Zach Moss is not my number one running back or my second running back in any one of my teams. I don't want him if he's a flex play on your team, and he's not even a good flex play. If you can get a second round pick for Zach Moss, even a mid to late second round pick, I'm taking that because you obviously that's something that you're not getting the production you thought you possibly could get out of Zach Moss. So why would you hold on to him? At this point in time, just kind of reshuffle for a second round pick, get another running back, somebody that fell in the draft. Someone that is going to produce points for you because Zach Moss is not doing that right now.
Yeah, or looking for who somebody's got Chase Brown on their team. You got a Chase Brown owner. Look, maybe he wants Moss and trying to cover himself, and maybe he's willing to give something up for Moss there. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm selling that one. We got another one. Let's jump in here. Untamed Music. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate. Says last week he flexed Brian Thomas Jr. of the Jags over Mark Andrews. I was right about that one in half PPR. Do you continue with the rookie or Mark this week? He's got Andrews right now is a flex option because he's got Laporta. So a little bit better game out of Andrews. John, me and you talked about this on the Dynasty Evaluation show earlier today. I think Likely and Andrews are going to split a lot of time this year. I don't know if either one is going to be a guy where you can totally go with him. I really like what I've seen out of Brian Thomas, and the Jags offense has not looked good. So I like Brian Thomas. I think he's just going to get better as the season moves on. They do got a semi-tough matchup against the Bills on Monday, but again, it's still early in the year. We're not in that crazy bad Buffalo weather yet. For me, I'm going Brian Thomas Jr. I'm with you on that one. I think I stay with him unless there's some kind of premium, a higher premium for the tight end. I like BTJ over Mark Andrews. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I'm not. This is Mark Andrews is one of those things where he's going to either be the guy or he's going to split time, or it could be the opposite of the spectrum where he doesn't see anything. We saw in week one. Brian Thomas is, I believe, going forward, he might be the focal point of this offense, especially with no Evan Ingram. So I'm going to go Brian Thomas here. I don't see anything about a PPR or a tight end premium. He just says half PPR, which I like even more Thomas because Thomas is a deep ball guy. He's going to get keep passes where you need those PPR points for Andrews. In half point PPR, I like Brian Thomas. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just keep things moving along here. Sorry, I lost my place where we were at on the bets. We are in now on Niners Rams. Niners at the Rams. Injuries galore here. Rams are missing Puka. Rams are missing Cooper Kupp. Who is going to catch the ball from Matt Stafford? Can they get the running game going? I don't like it. The Niners coming off a tough loss at the Vikings. No CMC. Looks like Debo's going to be out as well. This is a rough game. This is a game I think without the injuries would be a game everybody would be looking forward to this week. This is one that it's just lost a little bit of its luster. The money is heavy on the Niners right now at 88%, taking the Niners. It's -6.5. Do you think the Niners get right against the Rams? It's a tough one. I just don't see how the Rams put the points on the board against this Niners defense. I think Purdy and company is going to have enough to get it done. Kyron Williams, them running the ball. I just like the Niners defense enough. I usually think this game is pretty close. I hate to take this many points, 6.5, but I think I'm going to take the Niners in this one.
George Kittle is nursing an injury right now too. He's questionable.
Yeah, he's questionable with a hammy. So it's a little rough out there offensively for these teams. It could get ugly. 43.5 right now. It'll be interesting to see if that number moves a little bit lower as we keep seeing more and more injuries, trying to figure out who's going to be the guys that step up for both these teams and actually put points on the board.
As we talked about before, Brock Purdy is not a glamorous quarterback, but he's very efficient. And on Underdog, he's got 229.5 passing yards. What is it on your sheet?
Right now, what I've got him on DK, he is currently 225.5. 225.5. Matthew Stafford's 214.5.
Yeah, see that? I mean, I think I would take at that. I think I would take the over on Brock Purdy because he's thrown over 300 yards, a lot in his career. Maybe not a ton of touchdowns, maybe not a ton, but his yardage is always, seems to be above, the kind of shockingly kind of like you don't put the yardage with Brock Purdy. He's like, wow, it throws you off a little bit because he's not a big, humongous fantasy guy, but he does get that 300-yard bonus in a lot of the leagues in your in the leagues that you score. You're like, how did this guy get 18
So
or 25 points?
he had 319 in week last week against Minnesota. He had 319 in a touch with a pick. He had 231 in the opener against the Jets. Jets got a pretty good pass defense, and they were way up in that game.
And
so,
it was week one, which
it was week one, and they were up in that game, so you didn't have to throw a lot. I'm with you on this one, John. That might be, if I'm taking a player prop, that's the guy I probably like. I like the Purdy, even though they've got some guys hurt. I think he might have to come out and do a little something. I like the Purdy over 225 passing yards.
I do too.
I'm staying away from the Rams. You can't, unless you feel like Kyron Williams is going to have a good game, which I don't believe. I'm staying away from the Rams on player props. Another matchup's a little surprise. This one didn't think it was going to be as sexy as it is going to be. The afternoon game, Cardinals 1-1, coming off a big win last week against the Rams, and the Lions with a disappointing loss at home to the Bucs. Both teams 1-1. Currently, right now, Detroit is the favorite in this one. They're sitting at a 3-point favorite. What are your feelings here? The Lions get right. Do the Cardinals continue to look good? Put up 41 last week.
I'm looking at some of these here. Marvin Harrison, 16.5 yards. I'm looking at this. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 77.5. That Amon-Ra St. Brown, 77.5. That kind of scares me a little bit because this offense seems to be awfully even now with the emergence of Jameson Williams, the Sam Laporta not getting his, the running game. I think this is more of a puncher's kind of match than it is like a shootout. So I'm going to take the under on Amon-Ra St. Brown's receiving yards here.
Two guys I've loved to take the touchdown anytime bet on this year and a parlay together is James Conner and David Montgomery. Those guys seem to just keep putting it in the end zone. They're both minus 130. I would throw those in a touchdown parlay. If you've got somebody that's a little closer, a little plus money, and you're looking for guys that are, good bets, but aren't super, super high odds, you could take Connor and Montgomery at minus 130. I just like both those teams when they get around the goal line, they like to get it to those guys. So I like those. I do think Marvin Harrison, after a nice game last week, I do like him over the 60 receiving yards. I'm with you, John. I'm a little nervous about the Lions offense and that who's going to be the guy every week. Things have, Amon-Ra St. Brown looked great last week, not much in week one. I'm a little scared by Laporta right now. If I got him in Dynasty, I'm probably still playing him because you got to, but I don't know if I'm putting any bets on his yardage until I see him get a little more consistent targets. That's probably my lean. If I'm going to take any of these guys in certain bets, I think the touchdowns for Montgomery and Connor, and then I like the over receiving yards for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, maybe Trey McBride, 53.5 yards on underdog here. That maybe I might take the over on that one too because he seems to be pretty involved in the offense also.
Yeah, he's been right that number about every week. So that seems like a number that's pretty right on. Okay, we got our last afternoon game before we head to the Sunday night and Monday game as we're coming up upon the hour here, John. We got the Cowboys-Ravens. This game, two disappointing teams to kind of get things started here. It's right now +1 Cowboys. Ravens are a 1-point favorite on the road. The over-under is 48. Right now, the public money is on Baltimore at 64%.
Yeah, I like the Derrick Henry over 66 yards on this one. Derrick Henry they're going to give him his 15 to 25 carries. He's going to break one. I think my funnest thing to do is to bet on Derrick Henry in the over, especially when it's in the 50s and high 50s or low 60s, mid 60s, kind of thing like that. He's going to get over 60 yards in every game this season. So if you can get it at 64 or 62 or somewhere around there, Derrick Henry in the over at 66.5 yards here, I'll even take that. What do you have it at?
I like that. I think that's a nice number. If you look at TD scores too, Derrick Henry minus 170. First touchdown score. This is one I hit to start the year. I think I had it at plus 650 was the first touchdown. It's plus 475 in this one. We've seen the Ravens really start off games well and drive the ball if they get the ball first, but then they just seem to shut down in the second half. I'm not sure what it is. So if you're looking for an early touchdown, you can get Derrick Henry at plus 475 on the first touchdown, or you can get Zay Flowers at plus 1,000 first touchdown. I like both of those. They seem to just move the ball early on. Let me look at a couple more, like you saying, on these player props. I do like Derrick Henry rushing yards. They got to get him the ball. They've got to figure out a way to control the clock just a little bit. And obviously they want to keep the ball away from Dak Prescott in this offense. I got rushing yards right now. Derrick Henry, you know, you're right in that range. Yep. He's at the, high 50s, low 60s, right in there.
The thing was when this season started and Derrick Henry scored the first touchdown, this is the offense we wanted to see for the last couple of years. This is it. It's going to be so good. And man, they've been so underwhelming. It's unbelievable how underwhelming they are. So this is a great game.
66.5. I like 66.5. I think he can go over that. You got 54.5 for Lamar. The Cowboys players, not as much. Zeke is 32.5. Rico Dowdle is 28.5. Dak Prescott 10.5.
I would take the over on Rico Dowdle on this. I think he's starting to take over this offense. I believe he's going to be, they're going to start phasing out Zeke and bringing in Rico Dowdle a little bit more. I think something's going wrong with the offense. They need to change something, and one of them is production out of the running back. So I'll take the over on Rico Dowdle there.
Yep, I can get with that. I'm taking Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. I'm taking Derrick Henry over yards, and I actually like the Ravens in this game. I think the Ravens go into Dallas, they get their first win of the year, and then the Dallas fans panic when they're
what's
1-2.
What's the spread you have on this?
-1 right now. Ravens are the favorite.
Yeah, it's almost a toss-up. So that's a tough one. I like both these teams. At least it's a good football game anyway.
Yeah, let's hope we get a good one out of it. The next one, the Sunday night game, as we kind of come down to the close of the show. If you got any more questions or comments, feel free to jump in and share those. If you can, subscribe, Fantasy in Frames, the Stew with JT Brew. Give us a follow, a notification. We're getting close to 1,200 subs. So if you can, jump in there and sub to the channel, that'd be fantastic. We got the Sunday night game. We got Chiefs at Falcons. This one, Falcons coming off that dramatic win. The Chiefs the same way. Right now, it's a -3 for the Chiefs. The money is hard on Kansas City right now, 88%. 46.5 is the over/under. John, do the Chiefs stay undefeated? Do the Falcons win this at home? What are you thinking?
I'm looking at some of these lines.
I'll go. You know what? I'm
going to take the under on Carson Steele rushing yards. I'll tell you that one. He's a fullback. He's not a running back, man. They're going to give him the ball, but he's going to have 12 carries for 28 yards. I think is something like that. It's 45 or 50. I saw him at some of the people have him at 49 yards. He's 43.5 an underdog. I'm going to take the under on Carson Steele's rushing yards.
Yeah, right. On DraftKings, he's 42.5 over under, -120 for the over. If you like him on the under is -110. So if you're like John and you like the under on that, you can jump on that one. Bijan's 71.5. He's looked really solid, but the Chiefs' defense has been good.
Xavier Worthy 44.5. He's a best ball guy, but man, when anything he gets is going to be a long pass.
He has a chance to get a big one.
Yeah.
If you like Samjay Perine, I don't know if he gets more action this week.
I think he does
for them.
A lot.
Over under rushing yards for him is 16.5. I need to look at his over under receiving yards.
Yes.
Because him catching a couple balls. So he's at 15.5 for over under receiving yards. Over is -130. So you're eating a little bit of the juice on that, but I like the over for him at 15.5 on receiving yards. I think he could get quite a few catches out of the backfield in this one. So he's one I'm definitely going to look at. Rashee Rice you're getting the juice on that one too at -130 at over 74.5. He's been very solid. Kelsey coming off that terrible game last week. He's sitting at 48.5 yards currently.
Samaje Perine, 35 total rushing and receiving yards. I like the over on that. That's rushing and receiving.
Yeah, I think that could be a nice one, John. I think that one's a little bit off the book. People just aren't sure what Kansas City's going to do.
Right.
They signed Kareem Hunt, but he's on the practice squad. You got Steele, you got Perine. I just can't see them going Steele the whole game. I just don't. I think they're going to mix in the vet Perine quite a bit in this game. So I like that bet from you, the over under rushing and receiving yards. If you think Perine pops one in. You can get him at plus 210. Carson Steele's plus 115, which is a little shocking to me that he is the second best odds to score anytime touchdown in this game, only behind Bijan at minus 135. So that's a little bit surprising.
They're going to have to get him involved if they're going to win this game.
I think they're going to run the ball a lot. This one just, man, Mahomes gets it around to everybody. So it's been tough for me to take a lot of player props on the Chiefs. And again, Mahomes hasn't put up crazy numbers this year. So he's getting wins, but fantasy wise and betting wise, it's just been a tough one. I feel more comfortable about Chiefs minus 162 on the money line. If I was going to throw that in a parlay, I'll take the minus 3. But the Falcons have looked better. I could see them maybe pulling that one off. But I lean Chiefs.
Yeah, Carson Steele has a problem holding on to the ball too. And that's something that is going to, an early fumble will nullify any of these rushing yards. They'll pull them out of the game. So I like the under on Carson Steele. That's my favorite bet in this game.
Looking at the Bills Jags, the first of 2 Monday night games. Right now, the Bills are sitting at minus 5.5. Over unders 45.5. This one, it seems like it should be all Bills. It's 91% of the money on the Bills right now. I think the Jags hang around in this game. I think Trevor Lawrence plays a little better. If this number rises, if I get this up to plus 6, or even if you put it in a parlay and bought a point or two and get it to plus 7, I could see the Jags sticking in this game and keeping it close. I think the Bills probably win it, but I could see it being a close game, closer than people realize. Any player props you like, John, here? Obviously, Josh Allen's a guy people usually love to jump on all the Josh Allen props. He crushed you last week. If you took him in any prop, he had no touchdown. He was under the rushing yards. He was under the passing yards. The only prop I hit on him, but I had it in a same game parlay that I missed, was I had him under passing yards. And everybody said I was crazy because he had just lit up the Dolphins the last 6 or 7 times they had played him. He had gone like way over 300 passing yards. I thought they were going to run the ball a little more. I also thought the Dolphins defense is a little better than they have been in the past, especially against the pass. I took the under yards, the under hit for him last week. And my favorite bet of the week was Ray Davis, 25 plus rushing yards. He got to 29. It was close, but it was plus 425. Plus 425 for him to go over 25 rushing yards. So I did hit those 2, but I missed, I think, the other 3 legs of my same game parlay. So I got to rejoice in that I hit those, but lost the other one. So that one's tough. Right now, over passing yards for Josh Allen, you're looking at about 225, right in that range, 228, 230. And then Trevor Lawrence, you're looking in the 220s, 225. Range as well. So DraftKings right now has it 230.5 for Allen and 227.5 for Lawrence. Can T-Law finally get right for us? I know I need him in fantasy. Can he get right for us in the betting odds as well, or no?
230. I'm going to take the over and more than 1.5 touchdowns. I think if everything goes right for Trevor Lawrence this week, he gets all of his receivers involved. He gets the running game, pass out of the backfield, going. I think this might be. You can't say anybody's going to have a get-right game against the Buffalo Bills defense. They have a really good defense. But I think Trevor Lawrence is a little bit underrated because of the way he started the season off. I'm not saying that the Bills are going to smoke that Jacksonville's going to smoke the Bills, but I think they might be playing from behind also. So I'm going to go with the over on passing yards and the over on 1.5 touchdowns for Trevor Lawrence in this game.
Oh, I like that. I like the 1.5 on the touchdowns. I'd love to see him get some. I tell you what, we'll bring up our guy that got brought up a little earlier, receiving yards. Brian Thomas, 43.5 right now is minus 115. I'm over on that. He catches some deep balls. I like Brian Thomas. I think he is slowly becoming T-Law's favorite guy. He definitely looks for him. He's the deep threat everybody thought Gabe Davis was going to be when they signed him, but Brian Thomas has taken that role. So I like the over Brian Thomas receiving yards. I even like Brian Thomas to get one of those 2 touchdowns, John. I think they could hook up for a deep TD. So I would jump on that one. I think that would be a nice little same game parlay. Right now, you can get Brian Thomas at plus 270. on
Nice.
a anytime touchdown. So I'll get him over receiving yards, get him on the 270 on a touchdown, get T-Law over passing yards, and T-Law 2+ passing touchdowns, or over 1.5, whatever it is, the way they say it on your book. I like those. And again, I'm going to be looking at see if this line continues to creep up, and then I think I might take the Jags to cover the spread in this one. Last game of the evening, John, to finish up the show, we got the Commanders at the Bengals. What do you think about Jalen Daniels so far? Jalen Daniels has been good. I mean, he's been a solid player so far. The stats have been they've been hit and miss for him. He's looked nice. He's done some good things. He's run the ball okay. He's got to continue to try to protect himself better. That was the one thing really worried me about him coming into the league was him being able to protect himself. His over-under right now on Jaden Daniels is 197.5. Joe Burrow's 264.5. Either of those numbers jump out at you?
I was looking at that. I'm not really sure how that works out. The thing about the Jaden Daniels one is he's got 195 passing yards on underdog and 235.5 passing and rushing yards. So they expect him to have over 55 yards in rushing, 60 yards almost rushing this game on top of 195 yard passing. He did it. I mean, he's kind of impressed me as a passer. He's actually kind of efficient, which to be this young and that mobile quarterback and that efficient is very surprising. It's very refreshing for a young quarterback to do that.
If you look at him, he's been over 70% in both games this year.
Amazing.
17-24, 70% against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then against the Giants last week, 23-29, 79%. Had 226 passing last week. 93 rating in week 1, 99 rating in week 2, 88 yards rushing on 16 carries with 2 touchdowns in game 1, 10 rushes, 44 yards rushing in game 2. DraftKings currently has him sitting at, I just had it and lost it. Rushing yards, they've got him at 49.5 at -115.
I'll take the over on that.
The
only problem I see with that is he scrambles a lot and he goes east to west instead of north and south. So sometimes he loses chunks of yards by running backwards. And one of those plays is going to, 1 or 2 sacks and 1 or 2 of those getting caught behind the line of scrimmage is going to, negate his rushing yards by about 10,
the only good thing, and I always try to remind people of this, the only good thing is if you get sacked in the NFL, which I love this, they count it as against your team passing yards as opposed to rushing yards minus, like they do in college. So that's where you get killed in college. If you get a quarterback that runs for like 50 yards and gets sacked for -30, then he only gets 20 yards rushing. So that's the one that kills you there. I kind of like the over passing and the over rushing for Daniels in this one, John. I kind of think it's a sneaky play. We just talked about Zach Moss, fantasy wise. His over under is 52.5. I kind of like the under on that one. Brian Robinson, coming off a monster game, is also at 52.5. He had a huge game last week. What was his total?
144 yards, something like that.
Yeah. I was pulling 133 last week on 17 carries. Had a 40-yarder in that one after a tough game against Tampa Bay in week 1. 12 carries, 40 yards, and a touchdown in that one. I like the in between there. 52 for Brian Robinson. I'll take that. I'll take Brian Robinson at 52. I definitely like that better than any of the receiving numbers, as they have not had any consistent receiver play. It'd be tough for me I would love to get on Terry McLaurin, but it just has not hit yet.
Zach Ertz for three receptions. I think I might take the over on that.
I think he's got 4 in each of the first 2 games, John. Yes, if I remember correctly.
At least one of them anyway. I'm not sure about both of them, but
he had 3 for 28 in week 1, 4 for 62 in week 2.
And Mike,
what is it at right now? 3.5?
3 even.
3?
So
I like the 3.
Mike Gesicki 2.5. He had like 9 targets last week. 2.5 receptions here.
That's good. Gesicki 3 for 18 in week 1, 7 for 91 on 9 targets last week.
2.5 receptions. I think I'll take the over on that.
Oh, I get a little tight end. I tell you what, John, we talked about getting a tight end parlay going this week. I think we might have two of our first legs. We might have to get on Ertz over receptions and Gesicki over receptions. We're gonna we'll talk about it after the show because we're getting close on time here. But I'll post that on our on at JT Orange, and I'll tag you on there, John. But we'll get a little tight end parlay going for the peoples.
We love those. We love tight ends.
So finishing up, Bengals currently are sitting in this game at -7. 91% of the money is on them. Their over under in this game is 47.
I'm taking the Commanders.
I kind of like the Commanders +7. I just don't totally believe in the Bengals. I think everybody is on them because they played the Chiefs tough last week. I could see this game. I could see the Commanders kind of making a little run at you this one here. I think the Bengals can get this win and get off the 0-2 schneid. But I like the 7. I like the Commanders to cover the 7.
Yeah, I do too. I'm 100%.
All right, so that is going to do it for us here on the Stew with JT Brew. I'm going to bring up just a real quick one for everybody. We did it at the beginning of the show. I threw it just down on the bottom of the page. My JT Parlay play of the day for tonight, the Thursday night game, Jets, Patriots. I got Breece Hall +25 receiving yards, Garrett Wilson +50 receiving yards, Hunter Henry +25 receiving yards, and Garrett Wilson anytime TD. Jets -2. That's +625. That is my JT Parlay play of the day here for the Thursday night game. Me and John get some more bets together. I'm liking that Steelers one we talked about early on in the show as well. I appreciate everyone for tuning in here and watching the show. Thanks for the comments. If you get a chance, go like, subscribe, hit the notification button on Fantasy and Frames. We've got all kinds of content for you this year. We have the Stew with JT Brew gambling show is on Tuesday nights for college football. Usually do the NFL show here either Wednesdays or Thursdays in the afternoon, depending on what time we can kind of get it together and get everything running. I appreciate John, you jumping in here and helping me with the show again this week. You can check out John McGlynn at the Dynasty Evaluation podcast on Fantasy and Frames, where he graciously lets me co-host with him on that show. And then just go to fantasyandframes.com, go to the YouTube page, look through all the info, ton of shows covering everything you want. If you're a DFS guy, we've got a great show for you on DFS that runs every Friday. So make sure to check that one out as well. I just want to appreciate, again, thank you everyone for joining us. This has been the Stew with JT Brew on Fantasy in Frames.
Later.
You up on trades and why you move, you ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points, makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release, we started with the mock draft and now we making a mockery of the leaderboard. Quite obviously not a scrub, so start an institute, make evaluations like a commissioner do. It's to the point your wife make you watch in a different room. Update your roster and pick and choose when you get some news. Not much that we enjoy more than sifting through new statistics to make it to our end zones through different routes. Universities, institutes, down to homies who click in groups. I introduce you to the Stew with JT Brew.